I don't know about y'all, but I was always told not to talk to strangers. That's a pretty easy rule to follow when you're out at the park or the store, but online, a total stranger can seem like a friend, even when you've never spoken to them, because you've seen all the content they post on TikTok or Instagram. Sadly, a lot of dangerous people use this fact to their advantage, because they have a following, people look up to them, and even though they're a total stranger, their fans can feel like they know them well. Recently, a few people have shared their experiences with Jerobe, aka John Robert Bell, a TikToker with over 4 million followers, who would often call out other people for misogyny and sexual assault. Now, this TikToker looks like a huge hypocrite because he has been accused of grooming and predatory behaviors towards minors. So you guys, this whole situation came about when a TikToker called Dylan spoke out about his experience with John. It started when John followed Dylan on TikTok and asked for his Snapchat. Dylan gave it to him, and they were talking on Snapchat for a few weeks before Dylan invited John to a daily Zoom call that he does with his other TikTok friends. After about a week, John asked Dylan if he wanted to get an Airbnb with him to celebrate his 18th birthday. Dylan was 17 at the time, and John was 26.
After about a week of John joining the Zooms, he asked me if I wanted to get an Airbnb with him on my 18th birthday, which was over 3 months away. At the time, I thought it was a good idea.
This trip was meant to be with other people, not just John and Dylan. And Dylan shares a screenshot of their messages where they talk about who they should invite to the Airbnb. Dylan's messages are in blue, and John's are in gray. However, John found a one-bedroom place and said there would only be room for the two of us. He says this place is cheaper, and it would mean they would have more money to do fun things. Dylan says he would prefer somewhere that had 2 rooms, and John changes the subject really quick without addressing it. Apparently, he even said he would buy Dylan alcohol if he went. Another week later, Dylan decided to invite Noah, one of his IRL friends, to the Zoom call. Because he knew that Dylan didn't want to get the Airbnb, Jerobe suggested that they invite this other friend of Dylan's. John said, "When does Noah turn 18? He should come with us to the Airbnb if he's 18 by then." Dylan said he was turning 18 before him and that was a really good idea. The fact that this John guy is so obsessed with when these boys are going to turn 18 is so creepy. Why not just hang out with people your own age? Anyways, John kept pressing Dylan about the Airbnb, but eventually gave up trying. Then, on one of the Zoom calls with Dylan and his friends, John suggested that everyone take a quiz to see what their kinks were and send him the results. But y'all, it's even creepier when you think about how young everyone in the Zoom call was. Dylan said that the youngest person in the call was 15 years old, and that most of them were 17 and younger. Plus, there were 12 people in the call. So this 26-year-old guy is on a video call with a bunch of underage people, and getting them to tell him what their kinks are, this is beyond messed up.
In one of the Zooms with all of my TikTok friends, John thought it would be a good idea to have us all take a BDSM score test and send him our results so he could see our kinks. Keep in mind, the youngest was 15 years old and the oldest were 19, and there were only 2 19-year-olds and everybody else was 17 and below. There were 12 of us.
Apparently, Dylan's friends started going into separate calls without him and John, and he felt like they were getting left out. John told Dylan that they weren't his real friends, that they were talking about him, and that he was his only real friend. However, luckily, Dylan's friends caught on to what was happening, and they all called Dylan to tell him that John was grooming him.
A few hours later, I called back and talked to them, and I finally realized that John was grooming me. I decided to cut John off and not confront him about anything. I didn't say anything for the past 8 months because I thought I was the only one until recently I found out that there are multiple people that John has groomed. John does not deserve to have any type of platform because if he does, he will continue this behavior and will not stop preying on teenagers. He's a disgusting and terrible person.
Since all of this happened, Dylan has found out that there are multiple other people that John has done this to. Not long after Dylan shared his story, another person came forward under the TikTok account Coco Speaks. Coco shares her pronouns as he, they, she, but femme pronouns are preferred, so I'll be referring to Coco with she, her pronouns throughout this video. So y'all, Coco says that 7 months ago, John followed her back, which she was excited about because she was a big fan of his. Coco messaged John and asked if he wanted to play Minecraft with her, which is something she did with a lot of her TikTok friends. And pretty quickly, John gave Coco his Xbot tag and Snapchat. They were playing Minecraft and talking until very late at night, until up around 4 in the morning for about a week. Coco was sure she had just made a new friend, and there was nothing sketchy going on. Little did she know, John had other things on his mind. He started asking more personal questions about where she lived and whether her parents would allow her to travel. They FaceTimed, and John asked her if she wanted to go to a TikTok convention with him and offered to buy them a room together.
He offered to buy me a room with him, or like an apartment or whatever it was at the time, and I was getting ready to go. Things were great. It was wonderful. He offered to buy me alcohol, like before. We never went. I'm going to specify. We never went.
Thankfully, they never went to the convention together, but Coco shares something that John said to her, which is just so creepy.
I may be a pastor, or I may work for God, but I'm not against kids having fun. I should have realized it right there.
Apparently, John ghosted Coco for a while, but one day messaged her asking if she wanted to play Fortnite with him and Dylan, the same Dylan I spoke about earlier. And after this, Coco started to notice how strange John's behavior was. He was sending her shirtless photos, pictures of him working out, and texting her really late at night. But then when Dylan posted his video, that's when Coco realized what was happening between her and John. And you guys, another girl, Melina, who I believe is friends with Dylan and was a part of the Zoom group, has shared her story. According to Melina, she met Jarob in a group chat of kids who were between the ages of 13 and 19. And there was a huge power dynamic in the group because Jarob had the biggest following, and he was so much older than all of them. Melina says that he would make promises of Airbnbs to meet up, alcohol, and hot tubs, would make inappropriate comments and innuendos, and tried to get them to call him hot.
Alongside that, he would then make comments and Zooms with a lot of the other kids who had experienced this, making sexual innuendos about certain people or just himself and trying to get us to call him hot.
In a similar way that he did to Dylan in private calls, John would make Melina think that the whole group hated them, and even went as far as to trauma dump on her to keep her in his grasp. She was only 16 at the time, and dealing with her own problems at that age is hard enough without having someone else's issues to worry about. Just to add to how much of a hypocrite Jarob is, he used to make videos calling people out for not respecting women. And when his friend Calvin Brandel was accused of harming a woman, he never spoke out about it. Since all of this came out, Jarob has deleted both of his TikTok accounts and doesn't seem to be making a comeback to the internet anytime soon. But what do you think of this situation, loves? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I love you so much!